It's like he's very spectacular. He's I don't know, I wouldn't necessarily say bigger than any of these guys. He's got a mane very similar to the one we're looking at now, but his mane is just that little bit lusher, a little bit darker, and he's got a beautiful white nozzle, something I haven't seen much with, well, not to that extent before with lions. He has a big beautiful face, and he's a little bit more, I would push him a little bit less, put it that way. If I really had to, I would maybe grab this lion by the tail if there was life and death involved, but with him I wouldn't want to try it. So guys, just to highlight the fact that the fifth male part of this group that some of you wouldn't have seen before, James hasn't seen him yet either, he's very impressive, and I think the name Leonidas is just playing at the back of my head, but we're going to leave that there for now. We'll get to that when we get to know him more. For the moment we are very lucky, and I can't remember when last I talked so much. I'm talking and talking. I'm sure Sue has got a bunch of questions, and I've just got verbal attack here. We are very lucky. We've got 4 male lions here, one of them looking at us now as I speak, and he's licking his paws. He's going to get up any minute and walk again, but for now maybe we can fit another question in if there's one. Sue?
I do have a question for you, Peter. Do you remember before our camera crashed earlier in the day, we had a question from Helen and Valerie, pretty much the same question, and Colleen is now saying, can we answer that question? Peter was answering a question about Mr. T when you had to cut away due to technical difficulties. Somebody had asked if Mr. T's mane was due to genetics and wondered if he'd pass it down to his cub.
Oh yes, of course. I was actually enjoying answering that question this morning as well. Just to reiterate that question from this morning, and Colleen just reminding us, Mr. T has got a bit of an odd mane. I think it's a combination of his youngish, so he's, give me 1 second, is the game drive joining us. Station approaching Bengala, you can pull in them 4. We've got 1 close to us, the other 3 are all the way along the road, spread out, Lalapanzi. So yeah, when they move again, I'm sure they'll fumble up the Ndlela, so if you maybe want to try and get in front of them. Can you see the others? Oh, sorry James. Sorry guys, just the game drive's also pulling in. So just to answer that question again, Valerie and Colleen, he's got a bit of a different mane. I think it'll also mature a bit. I've got a feeling, and again this is not fact, don't quote me, but just from looking at lion coalitions and how they typically develop, that the Mapogos probably came from 2 different litters, or 2 different females. 3 of them would have been brothers, and I think those 3 would be the guy we're looking at now, Blackbeard, definitely Shaka, and then that other guy that I mentioned earlier, the really impressive looking male, for lack of a name, call him Leonidas at the moment. Those 3 are just, they're very similar size, they've got very, very similar facial features. There's slight differences in mane coloration and facial coloration, but very slight. So I would definitely say that those 3 are brothers. Then Mr. T and that other one, call him T2 for now, they look quite similar. They've also got a similar mane. Look at this guy just ignoring us flat, giving us the back end view. They've got very similar mane development, so partly genetic, to answer the question, but also I think they're a bit younger. So they would have been cousins to these 3. They would have grown up together. They would have been kicked out of the pride together at roughly the age of 2, and they would have lived together as nomads until they got to this stage where they have now successfully challenged and taken over larger territories than most males get to do. Look at that mane, he's in good shape. Very, very healthy lion this, I mean, look at that. So, to finish that question off, I'm giving long-winded answers tonight, but I'm sure I'm trying to basically give you a sort of a broad view of how these things work with them. Those manes will thicken up. They will still get thicker and lusher as they get older, but I do think there's also some genetic link to that slightly comical mohawk that they carry. But who knows, maybe a couple of generations from now we see a whole lot of other lions running around in the same hairdo, and there's a bit of genetic history behind it. But yeah, Colleen, I think there's certain genetics linked to it, and I also think there's maybe a little bit of a stress factor. Maybe those males have been having a bit of a hard time here and there. As we saw earlier, that T2 has got some hectic scarring going on in his face, So sometimes with severe conditions or severe stress, they also lose a bit of the mane. But make no mistake, they don't have small manes. When you look at them from the front, like we saw earlier with that little bit of a tussle hanging from the other male's mane, they still have beautiful, impressive manes. Big mane on the chest and down to the belly. It's just around the ear and the neck area that they're a bit lacking. Not the case with this guy though. The term mane certainly does fit the bill here. Morris again.